So this is the paradigm fuel break, and this is the fire ignitions map. The yellow is lightning, the red is all human caused starts. I believe this is that same time frame. So I think this is like, you know, since we started recording the fires in the like 1960 to, I think this is to 2012. So you can see the roadway systems. Here's the freeway between Boise and Mountain Home, and then, you know, the roads up to Haley and stuff. The roadway systems are huge problems for us for human-caused ignitions, and that's why our prevention campaigns, you know, do a lot of targeting of people being safe with trailers and vehicles, and doing whatever you can. And we've been working with Idaho Department of Transportation and then some of the different counties to try to get better aprons along the roads, graded places where people can pull off, more room for if stuff gets kicked off of a vehicle, you know, hot tire, you know, chunk of tire or something like that. We'll try to slow those down, because when we have all these human caused starts, then if you get a fire out, a lightning bust out here, and you're all tied up with human caused starts, the firefighters, it makes more, you know, the more fires that are going on, and the rougher it is to try to get those fires put out. So this is talking about the paradigm. And so that's the paradigm project that we're proposing. It's a roadway system that we've identified, and the different colors are the different treatments that we're proposing to do in there. They broke ground on this one last fall. The first step was they did some disking out there, and then the private landowners are supportive of this as well, and they're trying to tie in their pieces of ground with what the BLM has planned, so that fuel break doesn't have gaps in it where fires can sneak through, you know. And so this is from the Elk and Pony complex a few years ago in that same area. Huge, devastating fire, moved up into the forest up by Yellow Pine, and it was very, you know, did a lot of damage, that fire. So, and you can see that they're using a fuel break to burn off there. The dozer put it in, you know, had time to put it in before the fire, but the more of those that are in place before a fire actually starts, the better. And you might wonder, why do we have so many fires in this area? And it seems to grow more and more, and that's a lot to do with the cheatgrass that's come in. That's an invasive grass that somehow came over from Europe, and in our particular soil type and climate, it's very competitive. So if we have a fire like this and it burns off that sagebrush, the sagebrush is slowly dying out because it has a difficult time competing with the cheatgrass and another invasive called Medusa head. Those germinate, the cheatgrass germinates in the winter before the brush, and it's basically, the brush can't hang out anymore in there because the cheatgrass is dominant and it's taking over, and it creates a solid carpet of continuous fuels, super fine flashy fuel. And so it's very easy, it ignites extremely easy, it dries out very quick. I mean, in less than an hour after rain you could light it immediately. So it's a species that is really prone to fire, and that's why you're seeing so many of these fires every summer in our rangelands. This is just what they did. This is what was targeted last fall in the Paradigm project. So that's all, the black is all areas that they were doing disc lines on. So you can see they did it in the fall, and I've been out there this spring, and it comes back it looks great where it's coming back in. The next step will be to spray a Mazepec out there to control the cheatgrass and make sure that it's not just coming back as a sea of cheatgrass, and that's something we'll be maintaining consistently every season. This is an example of a mow line. So these are the different types of fuel breaks that we're doing out there along those roadway systems. You have the disc line, the mow line. Here in town, locally, and sometimes out there, targeted grazing is also another option. It's a little more difficult on a large landscape level because of the logistics that go into, you know, getting all the animals and fences and stuff put in, but it's something we have used. Chemical, so this is the Mazepec, Plateau. These are a couple different versions of the same chemical we've used out there, but you can see we mowed this in the fall and then came back and sprayed, or actually we mowed it in the spring, came back and sprayed in the fall, and then this is the following summer, and you can see the gaps between, which is real important for fire behavior. The bigger a gap between vegetation, same within Firewise, then the less chance that fire is going to carry.
Do those three products just kill cheatgrass, or?
Their main target is cheatgrass, but it can, we planted some kochia out there, and it kind of stunts the growth on them a little bit, but then they eventually come back. But yeah, it's mainly targeting cheatgrass. Mm-hmm.
Is that sage between there that's doing well?
Yes. Yes, and that's so mowing the sage, you think, oh no, you're mowing the sagebrush, right? Sage grouse and all this, but mowing the sage is actually, it can be very beneficial. A lot of that sage out there is decadent, and it's because we've suppressed fires for so long, the sagebrush is not a healthy chunk of.
The old stuff.
Yeah, so you go through and it really regenerates very nicely after mowing. And seeding is the last option that we have in play when it comes to fuel breaks. And this is, we try to use native plants to Idaho, but sometimes that's more for a landscape level. A huge fire burns, we're going to want to put native plants in there. But for these fuel breaks, since it's such a targeted little area along roadway systems, we're exploring different options on what works the best as a fire break. And this is just one thing that we're trying out in that paradigm project. Is this foraged kochia. Has a real deep taproot system. It has nice gaps between it. It germinates the same time that cheatgrass does, and it actually is so efficient with taking water out of the ground that it outcompetes the cheatgrass pretty well. And then of course it stays green usually into August, which is super important when it comes to a fuel break. So it's something we're super interested in, and there's actually, from seedings back in the 80s, there's foraged kochia between Tippanook and Mountain Home on the northeast side of the freeway, and then along Simcoe Road there's a huge chunk of, on both sides of the road, of foraged kochia from basically the Orchard Military to the Grandview Highway. And we've really noticed that the fire starts in that area have almost gone down to nil, so it's been pretty effective. If you're a fireman out on the line, where would you rather try to make a stand? This road with real tall brush and vegetation in the middle, or here on this mowed grass line? And that's the same principle as Firewise. If you have to leave your home, would you rather leave your home and have all kinds of continuous vegetation and things that chemically are more prone to fire, or would you rather have feel safer with a nice home, Firewise home, where you have a fighting chance of surviving that fire if a firefighter doesn't have the ability to get there to help protect your home? And that's what we call a force multiplier. So a force multiplier refers to a factor that dramatically increases, hence multiplies the effectiveness of a system. So we consider fuel breaks a force multiplier because it allows firefighters to cover more ground and be more effective. And I would consider Firewise as the same thing. It helps protect a person's home and allows firefighters to try to suppress the fire instead of being on the defensive all the time and bouncing from house to house. They can focus more on getting that fire put out. So super, super important. And this is the last slide for me. And it just says, the less time we're out on the range because of fuel breaks, the less time we have to spend out there, the more time we can be around locally to help if something like a Table Rock fire starts, to get to people's homes and try to get that fire put out and protect people's property. So it's fuel breaks are a really important deal for the BLM, and we're really focusing hard on trying to get them out into the rangelands. So.